Everyone has needs. You know, stuff you have to have. You need food. You need clothing. Countries need things too. Japan had enjoyed prosperity as its exports to Allied nations grew during the First World War. The problem was, the island nation didn't have the natural resources it needed to support its industry, or the land to accommodate its growing population. Leading Japanese military officers and business leaders believed the solution to their economic crisis was expansion. They needed resources and land. They condemned Western industrial powers and complained about foreign restrictions on Japanese immigration. The Japanese seized the Korean Peninsula in 1910 and took possession of former German colonies in Asia after World War I. In 1931, they seized Manchuria and withdrew from the League of Nations after the League condemned the action. We're all aware of the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, but did you know that Japanese forces invaded a strategically important U.S. possession, Wake Island, on December 8th? A small company of 527 Americans and 12 fighter planes defended the island against a Japanese force of 2,500 men, 3 light cruisers, 6 destroyers, 2 patrol boats, 2 transports, and 2 carriers, and valiantly held the island for 16 days. On December 12th, as the men on Wake Island fought desperately, Japanese forces invaded Luzon, the largest island in the Philippines, a U.S. territory. By the 23rd, the Japanese had forced the Americans, led by General Douglas MacArthur, to retreat to the Bataan Peninsula. Nearly 30,000 Americans and 125,000 Filipinos dug in for a long defensive stand as the capital city of Manila fell to the Japanese. In January 1942, the Japanese invaded Malaya, the Dutch East Indies, and Burma. They overtook Singapore in February and invaded New Guinea in March. In April, General MacArthur was ordered to leave the Philippines, and tens of thousands of remaining American soldiers surrendered. The Japanese High Command ordered that no sympathy be extended to those who surrendered. The more than 11,000 Americans and about 65,000 Filipino prisoners were forced to march 65 miles from Bataan to San Fernando under brutal conditions. From there, they were packed into trains and taken to prison camps. One survivor described the march as a macabre litany of heat, dust, starvation, thirst, flies, filth, stench, murder, torture, corpses, and wholesale brutality that numbs the memory. More than 600 Americans and between 5,000 and 10,000 Filipinos died on what became known as the Bataan Death March. The United States needed a boost in morale. General James Doolittle devised a bold plan to give America what it needed, a daring attack on the Japanese homeland. Doolittle formed a squadron of long-range bombers who called themselves the Flying Tigers. The plan was for an aircraft carrier to sail close enough to Japan for the Flying Tigers to launch a one-way bombing mission. They'd fly over Japan, then continue on, and, with skill and luck, land in a part of China not under Japanese control. The raid succeeded. It did minimal damage, but it provided just the boost to morale that Americans needed. Now that you have a better picture of what led up to World War II, think about this. How could the United States have been better prepared?